Now, two Democrats are facing off to succeed LaToya Cantrell in her city council seat that she left to run for mayor in District B. The runoff election is coming up this month. The two candidates, former Zulu King Jay Banks and criminal defense lawyer Seth Bloom, will bring diverse expertise to the table, and they both join us this morning. First of all, let's go ahead and talk about what you guys think are the biggest issues facing Council District B. Seth, we'll start with you.
Well, I think I've talked about it the whole time. I think public safety is still the biggest issue we have right now in New Orleans. Second to that is infrastructure, and things like housing are right behind it. So I think those are some of the biggest issues. And of course, all of those are tied into economic development and the overall quality of life of the city of New Orleans.
Jay?
Obviously, crime is on everybody's mind is first and foremost, but there is also a desperate need to make sure that the residents of District B who have been here for generations or allow the opportunity to stay here. Infrastructure is real, education ties into all of that. It's a whole myriad of issues that you can't separate. All of this stuff is intertwined together, and we got to deal with it all.
And this Wednesday, we are running a report for an hour-long report on the sewage and water board crisis in the city. And I say crisis because it is. If the August 5th flood had not come, we would not realize how bad the situation was with the sewage and water board and with the catch basins. And the catch basins are a city problem, so whoever is in that council seat will have a big say in this.
If you go back to take a look at one of your competitors, the first debate that we had, and we asked what was the first thing that I would do, and I talked about the sewage and water board, because having been here through Katrina, having lived through 7 feet of water in my house, I'm terrified of flooding. And when we talk about all these other issues, while they are real and they definitely need attention, none of that stuff matters if we're 7 feet underwater. Now, the reality of it is that we do not know what's at sewage and water board. I am not in favor of allocating one thin dime more to sewage and water board. We've got to get in there and find out just what happened to the money that's there already. That was money allocated for catch basin cleaning that wasn't used. There are 300 unfilled positions that haven't been filled but have been funded.
Well, that's the Department of Public Works.
That is through sewage and water board.
Cleaning the basins is
no,
Public
sewage and
Works.
water board has a line item in its budget also for catch basin cleaning.
Okay.
Yes, it does. And they have not done anything with it, so where is that money?
Seth?
Well, I've proposed, and I'm one of the few candidates in any race that have proposed, that what we have to do is actually combine Public Works with the Sewage and Water Board and restructure it from top to bottom. I think it's not unreasonable that we ask that the person that heads this actually has water management experience. I think that's low-hanging fruit. So I'd like to see that. I know it has to be done from the legislative side, so I'm looking forward to working with the New Orleans delegation to help accomplish that. We've got to have transparency and leadership, and this is really something that the mayor is going to have to work on, and hopefully he's going to bring the council, he or she, actually it's going to be a she, is going to bring the city council's input back into that discussion.
And why do you think you're the best person for this?
Well, I think I've showed and demonstrated after 8 years on the Orleans Parish School Board and 2 years as president that I've been able to go into problematic areas of government and make them better. But balance a budget, make it better. We're certainly not where we need to be in education right now, but I think we're moving towards that. I'm fresh. I'm looking forward to adding leadership and energy. We've ran this campaign very hard, and I want to bring that same level of energy to City Hall.
And Jay, why do you think you're the best man?
Just because you've flown on a plane don't mean that you can be a pilot. Now, I've had experience being in city council. I was 16 years with 2 city council presidents, but more importantly that, I have the passion and the understanding to represent District B. District B is the most diverse district there is. The needs of the Garden District are very different than the needs of Gertown, but no less important. The councilman for District B has to be somebody that can walk in both neighborhoods and relate to both sets of people and be able to understand the needs of both. I bring that to the table. In addition to that, all of my years of commitment and service as a community demonstrate my history. Now, leadership is great to talk about, but you got to be there to show leadership. And
it is a diverse district, and affordable housing is a big problem, and it's one thing that really has to change in this city.
Well, I'm concerned about people that are New Orleanians should be first. So I'm concerned that they're being pushed out of certain areas of Uptown and all over the city. Broadmoor is seeing Airbnbs, Central City is, and so is the Garden District, and all over. Like you said, it is a very diverse district. So we've got to there's 20,000 plus blighted properties. We've got to bring those back into commerce, have public-private partnerships. We need to do land swaps between the school board and Hano. We need to use resources we already have here in New Orleans to make housing more affordable and more accessible to people here in New Orleans.
Jay, your thoughts on affordable housing?
That is what pushed me into this race, because of the fact that people who have been here for generations are getting pushed out. We welcome all the new people coming in, but this new interest has driven property taxes up to the point where residents who have been here can no longer afford to stay, and that's unfair. This whole idea about Airbnb, which is sucking up affordable housing, I have been opposed to it from day one. I think it's fine that Ms. Jones can rent out a room to help make her ends meet. I'm okay with that. But having these many hotels created in neighborhoods is a detriment to the neighborhood, and it takes away affordable housing. I am vehemently opposed to that. So we've got to, I'm glad to hear Seth say he agrees with me that I've been talking about untangling the blighted property mess that we have. Put those houses back into commerce.
I've heard people talk about this for decades, and nothing ever gets done.
Well, I promise you it's going to get done with J.H. Banks on the city council. I don't have any place else to be. I was born and raised here. I am rooted here. I'm going to be here. Next hurricane come, I'm going to be right back here. I don't have a choice but to make this work. And I promise you, it's going to happen under me.
Seth?
Well, you know, I lived through Katrina as well, and after 5 years of being here, I came back about 6 or 7 weeks after Katrina. I rebuilt my business. So that's the kind of energy that I want to bring into, and the leadership I want to bring into New Orleans City Council. I think I have experience working in government. I've been a criminal defense lawyer for 14 years, so I know how to work in the public safety system, whether that's with the district attorney or with the sheriff. I want to help bring communication and coordination and cooperation among all the different entities in city government here in New Orleans.
And clearly we're seeing there's a problem with the use of city credit cards within the city council. If you get on the council, will you say maybe we should not have credit cards?
I don't believe we should have credit cards. When I was on the school board, if we had expenses, we'd submitted those, we'd submit the receipts to purchasing, and purchasing would reimburse us if that was appropriate. Most businesses run that way, and I think that's the way the city council should run.
Jay?
I think that the credit cards should be used, but used for the purposes that they're designed for.
But how do you regulate that?
Because you have to have the people in place that are going to do what's supposed to be done with it and not just run rampant with it. Now, I've heard the reports about what happened with the card. That will not be a problem with me.
But what about the rest of the council?
Well, the rest of the council will have to stand on its own. At the end of the day, you have to hold them accountable. I personally will not be using the card in ways that it's not supposed to be. And the council members are, in essence, presidents of a corporation. There will be times when there's time to have a meeting. There will be times when there are expenses that don't need to be paid, but you can't decide that you're just going to throw out the whole process because somebody made a mistake or abused it. I think you have to hold the people that have the cards accountable and make sure that they do what they're supposed to do, and if they don't do what they're supposed to do, then you deal with them as harshly as possible.
And in District B, you have a lot of residential, but it's a big business district. And how do you bring more business here?
Well, I think I've always talked about if you shore up public safety, you make this a safer place, you improve education, you show that there's people that we have good roads, we have a sewage and water board that works. I think economic development happens on its own. Right now we're getting so much negative earned media for flooding, for high crime rates, for murder rates. So I think if you shore up those two things, you have public and private partnerships.
All right.
That's the way we create business here.
Let me let you have the last word on that.
Big business is fine, but small businesses will make this country work. And I'm far more in tune to creating more workspaces inside of our neighborhoods, making our neighborhoods more livable, creating an environment where coffee shops and copy centers and those kinds of things that help to make our neighborhoods more livable is what my focus is. It's great to have a big multi-billion-dollar corporation come in. That's not likely, though. We've got to be focused on enhancing the quality of life for our citizens, and I think small businesses do that in neighborhoods.
That'll be the last word. Jay Banks, Seth Bloom, thank you for coming in. The Council B race, as well as the races for Mayor and City Council District E, will be decided coming up on Election Day. That's this weekend. The polls open on Saturday, November the 18th at 7 o'clock. They close at 8 p.m. We, of course, will have live Eyewitness News election coverage. You can also keep up with us on our poll updates on our website, wwltv.com, and of course on our mobile app and on our Facebook page.